There's a lot more to our flesh-eating friends than just mindless groaning or wanting to bite your face off. And even though they've been used and reused in both PC and console games, as well as mobile, somehow, despite being dead, they've had a longer gaming career than most AAA. And I'm talking about you, Ubisoft, seeing further every year. Since the earliest days in gaming, zombies have always been there, with titles like Zombies Ate My Neighbor, and even the latest titles, from Resident Evil Requiem to Masters of Albion, and not to forget Call of Duty whenever it runs out of breath, and that seems to be happening all the time nowadays. They always come back to zombie game modes and titles. So what is it about these creatures that make them still coming at you, both in titles and while playing them? Well, it starts with a very simple ultimatum. You see, they don't negotiate, partly because whatever motor functions are left in their soulless bodies aren't exactly built for conversation. And therefore, games put you in a situation where it's either you or them. And guess what gamers choose? Well, I'm pretty sure your typical woke activist could find a way to defend zombies. No, they won't. They'll probably be zombies already. But jokes aside, the undead is but a vector for the disease that commands them. Their sole purpose is to spread forever. But that makes them even a more perfect enemy. You see, even though they still keep their humanoid shape, you feel no guilt while shooting them dead. I mean, when was the last time you looked at a zombie and wondered about his dreams and feelings? Of course you don't, because if you hesitate or flinch, you become lunch. But I wouldn't let that shit happen to me though, cause I'll go and jump on the Kalashnikov. And let me tell you, it feels satisfying to drop bodies at the rate of 20 heads per minute. And that brings us to the real nightmare, their numbers. In most video games, this factor allows devs to control both difficulty, pace, and even gunplay systems. You see, in most games, you're always trying to outskill the other players, but in zombie games, you need to outskill the game itself. And I've seen some players get pretty resourceful while at it. One zombie should be easy enough. I mean, you're the one with the brains after all. But what about 10? What about 100? You get the gesture. Having to face endless hordes, especially when ammo runs out, makes aiming and combat a secondary skill compared to decision making and movement. Which routes to take and which ones to avoid, and many more decisions like, do you separate your squads to smaller, more agile units and by doing so covering more grounds and collecting more loot, or do you stay in the safety of numbers? And even the slightest parameters in zombies can shift the pace entirely. From a slow horror game with pure jump scares gold like this one, to a playground for shattering survival records like this one. In Resident Evil games, for example, the slow walking zombies that aren't instantly alerted to your presence make for interesting stealth play possibilities. Instead of shooting them and alerting the rest, which sounds like a very bad idea, you'd rather to just sneak by when you can. For other games like Call of Duty Black Ops, for example, killing zombies become mandatory, or let me say, the entire purpose of your existence. Because they spawn in an alert state and their sole purpose is to chase you down and destroy you. And gamers have studied every detail in Black Ops zombie mode, and the survival records last hundreds of rounds, to the point where gamers had to study how to not actually lose their minds running around in circles as the train of undead chases them around. Forget about how fast or how aggressive zombies are for the moment. Even the map's design changes based on the type of zombies you are expected to meet and the gameplay that the devs intend for you to have. For example, Kino der Toten, the OG Call of Duty Zombies map, is built around the idea that zombies are fast enough just with the right amount of slow to master. So the gameplay evolves into this almost rhythmic survival unending loop. And it gets more difficult with every wave as the zombies increase in numbers and capabilities. In Left 4 Dead, they are called infected, and boy do they run fast.
At least the zombies in Left 4 Dead clock a respectable 40. You gotta lead them and shit.
Ahem. No, it's a hit scan and you don't have to lead anything. And the map is designed so that these infected can come at you from every direction, offering them ledges to climb and unexpected attack angles. But it's linear enough for you to get from point A to point B, which is literally the point of playing the game. But there is more than just the layout design to these maps, be it the square holes or corridors of Kino der Toten, or the narrow holes inside Mercy Hospital. The very aesthetic and props placement itself usually reflects the end of the world. The apocalypse scenario. Highways are littered with stopped cars as the population rushes out the cities where zombies run rampant. Houses with barricaded windows and doors, and bodies, blood and bile spilled literally everywhere you can go. And even smaller details, such as messages written on walls by other survivors who were there at some point in time, evoke a lot of emotions and uncertainty. So you see, the map design isn't just about movement, but in tandem with the zombies parameters we spoke about earlier, they help build the atmosphere and define the sort of tensions that the dev want the players to have. Let's take a deeper dive into the zombies parameters. Well, we talked about speed, but health pool is also another very important factor. Some zombies are tankier than others and present a real challenge, and some serve as fodder for a grand finale build-up. Another important factor is their pathfinding. Some just try to take the shortest path, which is usually a set of straight lines from their position to yours. Some, like in Left 4 Dead, are programmed to take smarter paths and get behind you for a more scary effect. Even their spawn rate could be changed depending on your performance. If you manage to get rid of so many easily, the game can always ramp up their numbers and the parameters we spoke about earlier, making it more challenging and effectively stopping the game from just being about finishing the level and becoming about how hard can you make it and still finish the level. There's more. To keep things fresh in hordes of zombies, sometimes you find some that are special, to say the least, and they present more challenging situations that with dumb luck can ruin an entire team of survivors or a perfect speedrun. For example, in Left 4 Dead, there are 6 special zombies: the smoker, the boomer, the jockey, the spitter, the charger, and the tank, each with unique capabilities other than your typical common zombie bite. For example, the charger charges at you with speed. If they grab a hold of one of the survivors while charging, they will start pounding them to the ground until they die or get saved by other survivors. In Dead Island 2, the hazmat zombie is immune to acid barrel explosions, and turning your back on them, thinking that they turned to zombie-flavored smoothie, can result in jump scares like this one. And here's one final example, just for your viewing pleasure of course. In Back 4 Blood, there are 7 types of common zombie alone. The armored common, or ridden as they are called, takes more bullets to drop, the volatile ridden explodes, and so on. The game also presents 24 different mutations, 5 of which are boss-like mutations, and each of them got its own shape and ways of making the game a nightmare. The Stinger, for example, can jump long distances and cling to walls for more surprising attacks. This thing can release acid, and you explore the rest when you play the game. In conclusion, every imaginable type of attack, ranged or melee, smash or grab, can be applied by zombies, especially in the name of mutations, which provides endless gameplay possibilities. One more reason we're attracted to zombie games is because of the end-of-the-world doom apocalypse setting. Humans in general have always been fond of that fantasy, and the story really doesn't need to be complex to become successful. One experiment gone wrong in some lab underground, while of course testing things that we have no worldly business testing, or some alien worm drops on Earth and behaves as a parasite. Patient Zero is admitted to some hospital somewhere, and then zombies. And it doesn't even have to be a shooter either. One of the most famous zombie games, played by millions worldwide, is actually a tower defense game. You see, in Zombie vs. Plants, you don't have to go running and gunning through hordes of undead, but instead, you are defending your lawn with a funny assortment of different plants, each serving a different purpose. You got the pea shooter for killing the undead, the sunflower to gather resources, and much more. The thing is, that's another strong point for zombies. They can serve in any game genre. For example, you got Project Zomboid, which is an RPG sandbox game with endless amount of ways to loot, forage, and deal with the undead. There's also Dead Age 2, a turn-based game that's about strategy, survival, and making the kind of decisions that will come back to haunt you. Literally. And maybe that's why zombies never go away. Not because they're complex, but because they don't need to be. They fit anywhere and adapt to anything. And no matter how many times you've seen them before, they still find new ways to put you under pressure. And at the end of the day, it's not really about zombies. It's about you, your decisions, and your mistakes. So tell me, friend, how long can you survive before you become a part of the horde?